You've made it through the day. Now it's time for something gentle. Good evening, friends. I'm Mr. Narratory, and I'll be your voice tonight as we drift gently towards sleep. If these stories help you relax or fall asleep a little easier, consider liking and subscribing. It really means a lot. Tell me in the comments. What time is it for you right now? And do you have any little bedtime rituals? Now, settle in, get comfortable, close your eyes if you'd like, because it's time for tonight's story. It was supposed to be one night, just one shift. My buddy Aaron called me the afternoon before, said he had a family emergency, asked if I could cover his Friday night at the station. I've done it before. It's a dead shift, midnight to 6 a.m. out on Route 48. Barely any traffic, all rural road and long-haul trucks. It was an easy. Yes, I told him no problem. I'll grab the key from the lockbox. Same code as always. He didn't say much else, just thanked me and hung up fast, like he was rushing, or maybe didn't want to say more. I showed up around 11:45. Got the lights on, opened the register, checked the fridge, temp, everything normal. The place looked exactly how I left it 2 weeks earlier when I did inventory for him. By 1 a.m., I'd only seen 3 people. A trucker who didn't say a word, a woman who looked like she'd been crying, and a guy who bought 6 lighters and asked if we still sold kerosene. I said no. He nodded, like that made sense, and left. I remember thinking how quiet it was, even for that place. There was no wind, no bugs, not even road noise, like everything was waiting. At 2:17, the phone rang. It was the landline. No caller ID, no name I picked up, said the usual. Thanks for calling 48 Fuel. This is Dan. How can I help you? The voice on the other end said, You're not, Aaron, I said. No, he's out. I'm covering. For him tonight. There was a pause, then a click. I stood there with the phone in my hand for a second before hanging up. I told myself it was nothing. Maybe someone who didn't know he swapped shifts. Maybe just a wrong number. But something about the tone got in my chest. Like the voice wasn't confused, just disappointed. At 2:41, a man came in, tall black hoodie, jeans, gloves, even though it wasn't cold. He walked straight to the counter, looked at me for a long second, then asked, You the one on tonight? I nodded. He stared like he didn't believe me. Then he smiled and said, Good, better this way. He grabbed a water, left a 20 on the counter, and walked out. I didn't ask questions. I just watched the door close slowly, like it didn't want to shut completely. Around 3:30, I went to the back to check the cooler lights. When I came back, the register screen was blinking message notification. I didn't even know it could get messages. The screen read, Reminder in confirmation required for 0. I didn't know what that meant. I tried clearing it, but the prompt wouldn't go away. I texted Aaron, but got no response. Then I opened the drawer below the register and found a folder. It had my name on it. But I never worked here full time. Inside was a printed badge, my photo, a schedule with my name across the last 12 days, and a receipt log signed Daniel C. for every shift. That was impossible. I was doing landscaping all week. No one had seen me here, but the paper said otherwise. I looked up at the CCTV monitor and realized it was recording, and I didn't remember turning it on. The second call came at 47. Same landline. Still no ID. I picked up, and before I could speak, the voice said, "We told you not to come back." It wasn't angry. It was calm, like someone reciting a fact. I said, "Look, I think you have the wrong guy. I'm just covering for a friend." The voice answered, "You're Daniel. You signed the logs. You're the one in the system now." Then they hung up again. I stood there frozen. The folder was still open on the counter with my name printed clean and sharp on every page. The badge looked legit. Hologram, sticker and all. Except I never applied. I never authorized this. And yet the footage from the CCTV showed me working, night after night. Time-stamped, recorded, moving between aisles. Restocking. Even speaking to customers. I watched one clip from 4 nights ago. I scanned chips. I laughed. I looked like I'd been there 100 times, but I don't remember a single second of it. The store stayed empty for a while, but the lights felt too bright, like the ceiling was watching. At 4, the register beeped. The screen changed. Confirmation failed. Review pending. I tried pressing buttons. Nothing worked. A loud click came from behind the counter. The small safe door below the terminal popped open. Inside was a phone. Not the wall one, a separate mobile unit. Old, heavy, plastic taped. It lit up. One new message. The screen read, "Don't leave the store. Not until it's over." That's when the headlights hit the window. A black SUV. No plates, tinted, parked, idle. Doors never opened. It just sat there like a threat. I stayed behind the counter, watched, waited. After a few minutes, it drove off, but not fast. Like it wanted me to know it wasn't leaving for good. I checked the cameras. It wasn't on them. The parking lot showed empty. Live view. No vehicle. Just my reflection in the glass. And that damn folder still open. By 4:27, the power flickered. Lights dimmed. Emergency generator kicked in. I opened the back office door looking for the fuse box. Inside were 4 boxes. Only one was labeled. Store ops. I flipped it. Lights returned, but the register didn't. Screen stayed black. The phone rang again. I answered. This time the voice was different. A woman, younger, nervous. She whispered, "I can't talk long, but if you're in the system, they won't let you go unless someone takes your place." I asked who she was. She said, "I used to be you." Then the line cut. I checked the cameras again. One feed was glitched. Back room cooler. Static lines across the screen. But something was moving in the distortion. A shape. Human. Just standing. I ran to the cooler. Opened the door. Nothing. Empty. Light buzzing above. Cold air-like breath on the back of my neck. I turned. Door still open. But the hallway on the monitor wasn't the hallway behind me. It was a different angle. From inside. Filming me. That was the moment I realized I wasn't just being watched. I was already part of the recording. I grabbed my jacket and keys and decided to leave. I didn't care about the phone, the register, the weird logs. I just wanted out. I hit the front door fast, pushed hard, expecting resistance, but it opened smoothly. Cool night air hit me in the face, and for a second I thought maybe it was all in my head. I stepped outside, looked around. Lot was empty. No cars, no lights on the road. But something felt wrong. The road stretched longer than I remembered, like the distance between the store and the tree line had doubled. I started walking toward my car. It wasn't there. I'd parked under the sign like I always do. But now, the spot was just gravel. No tire marks, no shadow from the sign. Nothing. I spun around to look at the building and froze. The door I'd walked through was gone. Just flat wall. No frame, no handle, no windows. Like I hadn't left through it. Like it had never been there. I took a step back and heard gravel crunch behind me. Turned fast. Nothing. Then the phone rang again. Not from inside, from the pump. The old payphone next to pump 4. The one that's been dead for years. It was lit up. Glowing green. Ringing. I walked toward it like an idiot. Picked it up. No dial tone. Just a click. Then a man's voice. Calm. Soft. "You're out of position, Daniel. Return to shift," I asked. "What is this place? What do you want from me?" He said, "Continuity. Reliability. You took the shift. You stay until it completes." I slammed the phone. It kept ringing. Over and over, I walked away from the pump toward the highway. Started jogging. I figured if I made it to the main road, maybe I'd get signal. Maybe someone would stop. But the road didn't end. It curved and curved like a circle. After 20 minutes, I saw lights ahead. Relief flooded me. But as I got closer, I saw what it was. The station. Same lights, same pumps. I was back. But I hadn't turned. I hadn't doubled back. The road just looped me in, like a simulation resetting its parameters. I stood still for a long time, breathing, watching. Then I noticed someone at the register. A man. Same uniform, same hat. But not me. He looked younger, focused, like he belonged there. I walked up to the glass, knocked. He didn't react, just rang up items that weren't there. Mouthed words. Followed a script. I backed away, looked at the camera mounted above the door. It turned toward me, slowly, intentionally. Then the lights cut out. All of them pitch black. Then the door appeared again and opened by itself. When the door opened, I stepped inside without thinking. I didn't know what time it was or how long I'd been out there. The inside looked the same but hollow, like the real version of the store had been copied just slightly wrong. The shelves were full, but the labels were faded. The cooler lights buzzed but didn't hum right. Behind the counter was a man. He was facing me, wearing the uniform. The same dark shirt, the same hat. And he had my face. Not a look-alike, not a twin, my exact face. The scar near the eyebrow, the slight shadow under the left eye. He looked at me with recognition and fatigue. Then he said, "You came back too soon." His voice was mine, lower, slower, but definitely mine. I stood there, frozen. He gestured toward the register screen and I stepped closer. On the screen was a list of shifts, all signed, all mine. The signature was mine, but the dates didn't make sense. I hadn't been here those nights. I'd been asleep. I'd been working my other job. I said, "What is this? Who are you?" He replied, "I'm who you become when you stay." Then he turned the monitor toward me and showed live footage, not past recordings. Live. Every camera showing a different version of me. One stocking the back fridge, one mopping, one standing at the window looking out into the dark, all moving in loops, repeating simple actions, like they'd been stuck. He said, each shift leaves an impression. Eventually, the system keeps the one that fits. I asked, "What system?" He said, "The one that remembers you better than you do." He moved closer to the side of the counter. His movements were slower than mine, like he was underwater. I asked, "Can I leave?" He paused. "You're not the one who asks anymore." Then he was gone. Not like disappearing into thin air. Just gone. Like he'd never been there. Like he'd been a placeholder. I looked back at the screen. My name was still there. Daniel C. Active. The red light above the counter started blinking. In time with my breathing, I looked up. The camera moved slightly, like nodding. I opened the drawer beneath the register again and found a second folder. This one was thicker. Same name, but new heading. Observation log. Loop instances. I flipped through the pages. Each log was identical. Time in, time out. Incident noted. Response filed. On the last page was a warning. Attempting to exit after imprint results in reset. I stepped back from the counter. Looked at the front door. No handle. No frame. Just a solid glass sheet staring back at me. My reflection didn't blink when I did. I couldn't stay by the counter any longer. The blinking red light above me felt like a pulse inside my skull. I turned and walked toward the stockroom door. It was slightly open now, even though I knew I hadn't left it that way. The hall beyond was longer than I remembered. Shelves were pushed outward, boxes stacked where they didn't belong. At the end of the hall was a steel door I'd never noticed before. It had no handle, just a key code pad. The screen read, "Last entry logged, Daniel C." I hadn't gone through it, but someone with my name had. I backed away from the door and turned left into the break room. It was dark. Only the soda machine gave off any light. In the center of the table was a small stack of notebooks, plain black. I picked one up and flipped through. Handwriting filled the pages. It was mine. Same loops, same slant, except I hadn't written this. Each page started with the same line. Day 1 covered for Aaron. The entries got worse after that. More erratic, shorter sentences. By page 30 it was barely coherent. Scribbles, diagrams. At page 50 it just said, "There's more than one of me in here, and only one gets to leave." I dropped the notebook and checked the others. Same style. Different order. One was marked D. Coley ID 3. Another, Daniel Fragment 2A. One was burned on the edges like someone had tried to destroy it. The last page was intact. A warning in block letters. "You are not here to work. You are here to be replaced. And when your cycle ends, you'll become part of the background." I looked around the break room again. The walls were covered in employee photos. I'd seen them before. Smiling faces, bad lighting. But now I noticed something new. One of them was me, older, same name tag. But the photo frame was cracked, faded. The nameplate beneath said, "Retired." I wasn't old enough to retire. I wasn't supposed to be in that picture. But there I was, staring back. I grabbed the photo off the wall, and behind it found another page, folded, taped to the back. Exit is possible only through reallocation. Find the one who took your place. I knew what it meant. Aaron, he called me to take the shift. He asked me without any details. He set me up, not maliciously, not violently, but knowingly. Because that's how this place works. You don't disappear. You transfer. One in, one out. And someone always has to stay behind. I returned to the counter and opened the log screen again. It had changed. Aaron M.I.D. status. Cleared. Below it my name. Daniel C.I.D. status. Active imprint. I looked up. The CCTV screen split again. Two versions of me now. One mopping, one writing in the log. But I was neither. I was the one watching. And I was starting to think that meant my cycle was ending. I sat behind the counter with the photo still in my hand and the register humming like it was breathing. I stared at the screen until the numbers blurred. Then the landline rang again. No caller ID. Just that dull ring that cut into the silence like a threat. I picked up without speaking. On the other end was a voice I knew too well. It was Aaron. He said my name once. Quiet, like he wasn't sure I'd pick up. I said, "Why did you ask me to take the shift?" He was silent for a few seconds. Then he said, "Because I had to. Because someone gave it to me and I had no one else to call." I said, "You knew what this place was." He replied, "Not at first. But yeah, I figured it out around night 3. I saw myself in the monitor. I saw the folders. I saw the one that didn't move. I asked, 'What is this? A trap?' He said, 'Not a trap, a loop, a position. It needs to stay filled, so someone has to stay.' I thought maybe if you only did one night it wouldn't take. That's what I told myself. That maybe it'd glitch or break if the coverage wasn't full. But I was wrong. I wanted to scream, but my throat felt locked. I whispered, 'How do I get out?' He said, 'You already know. You read the logs. One in, one out. Unless someone takes your shift, you don't leave. You become the background.' I said, 'You left.' 'How?' He said, 'I didn't. Not really. I'm still in here. Somewhere. I hear things. I hear your shift from inside.' I said, 'Then who's out there answering your phone?' He said, 'The version they let walk. The one they copied from me. We're all just impressions. You're not the Daniel that walked in. You're the one that stayed the longest.' The line clicked. Dial tone. I looked down and realized I'd been gripping the receiver so tightly my hand hurt. I let go and backed away. Looked around the store again. Everything was quiet, frozen, like it was waiting for me to make the next move. I walked to the back again. through the hallway past the steel door. The keypad still blinked. I touched it. It lit up. Green. Then opened. Inside was a room I hadn't seen before. White tile. One chair. One monitor. On the screen was a prompt. Begin exit sequence. I reached for it but paused, because in the corner of the room was another figure, sitting, facing away, wearing my uniform. I stepped closer, slowly. My breath caught in my throat. When I reached him, I touched his shoulder. Cold, plastic, a mannequin, wearing my name tag, a fake, a placeholder. Next to it on the floor was a folder. New, Observer, Ready, ID, DC. The next page was blank, waiting. I looked at the screen again. Confirm exit. Beneath it, 2 options. Replace or decline. And I knew what it meant. If I wanted out, someone else had to come in, and I had to choose who. And once I chose, I'd become the one watching, the one waiting for the next call. Just like Aaron had waited for me, I stood in front of the screen and stared at the 2 options. Replace or decline. I tried to think of someone I could call, someone who would actually come. But the only person I trusted was the one who put me here, Aaron. And even if I forgave him, I couldn't do what he did. I couldn't pass this on to someone else. Not knowingly. Not after everything I'd seen. My hand hovered over decline. I tapped the screen. It froze, then flickered. The words blurred. A new message appeared. Request not approved. No exit without replacement. I stepped back. The door behind me hissed closed. The room dimmed. A siren I couldn't hear vibrated in my chest. Then the lights went out completely. When they came back on, I was back behind the counter, standing like I'd never moved. The screen on the register flashed white. Reset in progress. I blinked, looked down. The folder was gone. The office door was closed. No sign of the monitor room. I ran to the back. Everything was normal. Lights buzzing, shelves stocked, camera monitors clear. It was like I'd never left. Except now, the date was missing from every screen. Just blank time stamps. No clock, no calendar, no anchor. I reached into my pocket and found the phone from the safe. New message. Attempted exit recorded. Observation continues. I ran outside. The air was thicker now, the sky gray. Morning light should have come but didn't. The same black SUV was parked across the lot. This time the door opened. A man stepped out, dressed like me, but not me, shorter, cleaner, younger. He walked slowly, deliberate, stopped in front of me and said, "They picked me for the next shift." I asked, "Who are you?" He smiled and said, "Version D4. I'm here to overwrite." I said, "I'm not finished." He nodded. "You tried to leave. That voids your turn." I said, "You can't just take it," he replied. "I'm not taking anything. You're being archived." He stepped past me, into the store. The lights adjusted like they'd been waiting for him. The register beeped once, calm, familiar. I stayed outside, frozen, watching through the window. He moved like I had. Same routine, same rhythm. Then he looked at the camera. and the camera turned to me. I backed away, looked at my reflection in the glass. It was slower than my movements, like it lagged behind, like I was already starting to fade. The phone buzzed again. You declined replacement. Status: unstable. Begin assimilation. My fingers shook. My voice cracked. I said, "What does that mean?" The reply came fast. You're now background, part of the shift. Static. Echo. I dropped the phone and it kept buzzing. Then it melted into static. The sound of breathing, my own voice, layered over itself, repeating one sentence. You've been here before? And I knew I had. Too many times to count. I don't remember walking back inside, but I know I did. The door opened without a sound. The air inside felt heavier than outside, like every breath had to push through something that wasn't meant to be touched. The new version of me stood behind the counter, moving smoothly, checking inventory, tapping the screen. Everything about him felt right. I watched from the corner of the room, but he never looked at me. Not once. Like I was already a shadow. I whispered his name, my name, but he didn't flinch. I turned toward the camera. The red light blinked once, then turned off. The screen behind the counter displayed one sentence. Observer replaced. Memory collapsing. I stumbled into the break room. The walls were covered again with photos, but now they were all me. Different angles, different uniforms, some smiling, some just staring. The newest one showed me looking out the window like I was now. Caption beneath said, Daniel C. in process. I opened the drawer. The notebooks were back. More than before. Piled high. All of them with my handwriting. All of them ending the same way. A sentence in all caps. You never left. I dropped the top one and opened another. The same. A log of shifts I don't remember working with details I can't verify. Dates that don't make sense. Customer names I've never heard, but apparently greeted nightly. One entry just said, they're all watching from the mirrors. Don't trust reflections. I looked at the window again and my reflection was smiling, but I wasn't. I went back out front. The version of me had stepped away. I sat behind the register. The screen changed. Begin standard cycle? I didn't answer. It changed again. Auto cycle initiated. The door opened. A customer walked in. I recognized him. The man who asked about kerosene. He smiled like he always had and placed 2 energy drinks on the counter. I scanned them. My hands moved on their own. My voice said the total. He handed me cash. I gave him change. I didn't think. I just acted. The door closed. The screen blinked. Transaction complete. A file opened beside the register. New folder. Daniel C. Active Shift. The lights above me flickered once, and I heard the voice again through the speaker by the clock. Your status has normalized. Thank you for completing the cycle. I wanted to scream, but my voice was gone. I reached for my phone. Gone. I checked my pockets. Empty. I looked at the security screen. 4 feeds. Each one showed me. All doing the job. All looping. A 5th screen appeared. Black and white, just the door. A new figure approaching. Another version, maybe. Or maybe a real customer. It didn't matter. The door opened. The bell rang. I smiled. I welcomed him to 48 Fuel. My voice was smooth, practiced, believable. Because I knew my job now. I had become part of the shift